Um, at what point in life did you realize that you had a gift to capture people just by your words?
I'm not sure if I really realized that until my high school years, maybe even college. I remember in college, I was part of a student organization, and we had a debate between myself and the opposing team. And one of the opponents, who was a hater of mine, he had said that I was a very good speaker. He said, you know, you have the ability to draw people in. You speak very well, very effective. I remembered that comment because he was a hater. And, you know, normally your haters don't give you accolades. And I don't think he intentionally did it. He didn't do it, you know, as a comment. I think he just spoke out of the abundance of his heart. But that is something that always remained with me, the way that he said that. He was one of the first people, although an adversary, to, you know, publicly declare that, you know, he felt I had a gift. When I was in high school, I had a female classmate who said the same thing. You know, she said, you have a very, you have a gift of speaking. You have a way of talking that pulls people in. So I would say the female classmate in high school and then the male adversary in college, they were the first two people to actually speak to what they felt was my oratorical skill. And it wasn't until, you know, I kind of ascended in the Black consciousness community globally around 2010 that I really began to notice that people were heavily influenced by my speech. Just yesterday, to give you an idea, I was out running some errands in Philadelphia, and I walked into one business, and there was a sister sitting there, and she looked and she said, "You look just like," she said, "Do you know Dr. Umar Johnson?" I said, "This is he." And she literally jumped up out the seat and grabbed me and hugged me, and she just went off like, "Oh my God, oh my God." And everybody stopped and looked like, who is this guy? You know, and we took a photo. And then last night, I went to a restaurant, and another sister was coming out, and she said, "Oh my God, Dr. Ooh," and she yelled outside, and everybody froze again. And that's the first time I had that twice in the same day, but it just happened yesterday. You know, my point is, experiences like that kind of reminds me of the magnitude of my responsibility. So for me, you know, it doesn't go towards strengthening my ego. It goes towards strengthening my commitment to my work.
Okay, I understand that, man. You probably, oh, I won't say probably. You are, you know, in the Black consciousness, you are the guy at the top of the mountain. With that comes a lot of hate. I mean, especially over the school. Congratulations, I saw it. Looks beautiful. Supposed to be opening next year, correct? In August.
Yes, sir. September 3rd will be the first day of school 2024 for our second, third, and fourth grade academy for boys.
Were you disappointed in the hate, or was any of it actually constructive criticism that you took to heart?
None of it's constructive, because haters don't have constructive criticism. They're not there to help propel you. They're there to destroy you. So none of it is constructive. I would say when I first came into the national Black consciousness community back in 2010, 13 years ago, I was naive because I thought everybody in consciousness was there to help our people. And I had to learn the hard way that Black consciousness for many personalities was another form of Hollywood. It was another form of entertainment. They use it to get paid. They use it to build fame for themselves. They use it to meet women. They don't use it to help anybody. If you look at Black consciousness today, where is the activism? There's no activism in the consciousness community. It's all intellectual masturbation. That's it. Nobody's building anything except me. Nobody's fighting none of the major problems. And when I say building, I'm not talking about restaurants and barbershops. I'm talking about the major institutions. I'm talking of schools, banks, hospitals, supermarkets, manufacturing and distribution networks. And when I say fighting against the problems, I'm talking about directly fighting against miseducation, as I do, mass incarceration, as I do, police genocide, gentrification, access to wealth. Those are the 5 biggest problems. And on the other hand, you have your 5 major institutions. If you took a survey across the conscious community and say, who's trying to build one of these 5 institutions and who's tackling one of these 5 major problems, you would come up short. Almost nobody is. It's all intellectual masturbation, dealing with history, dealing with religion, dealing with aspects of culture, dealing with our origin, as if that's going to change anything at all. We can fight all day long as to where we come from, but that's not stopping any of our problems. It's a lot of misdirected energy. And so for me, I was very thankful to the Most High that the Creator put me in a position to be as popular as I am globally, because I'm not just relevant here, I'm relevant on every continent. I'm the only conscious personality that's relevant on every continent in this country. And to be in a position to raise those funds that I did. You know, the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy is the first school in American history that was literally built by the African diaspora. Every continent, almost every country contributed to that school. So that's not just an American African thing. That's a Pan-African project. And we're the first school in the history of this country to be exclusively funded by the African diaspora. No white money, no bank loans, no handouts, no government financing. We're the first to do it. And it was done on the strength of my following and the support base that I have around the world. So that speaks right there, you know, to the love I get. Of course, you get the hate, you know, because you can't have the gift without the curse, you know, but for every detractor I have, I probably have 1 million supporters. The difference between my supporters and my detractors is that the detractors are very aggressive. They're very consistent. They are very diabolical in what they do. And the reason they have to be consistent is they know that they're fighting an uphill battle against an entire avalanche of support. So, you know, when you're trying to take somebody down who is loved by a lot of people, you have to be consistent in your game. And that's why when you look at the detractors, they're constantly making videos. You know, I did a little study at some time last year, and I found that there's 5 new videos put out about me every day. I get 5 new videos a day, and most of them are negative. You know, so that just shows you how long they've been on this campaign. They've lied, they've slandered, they've misrepresented. They've reported me to the governor, the president, the FBI, the CIA, the IRS, you name it.
That shit don't get tiring though, bro.
Of course it gets tiring.
You could just pack it up and go teach and be well off.
Right. But the thing is, I very well could. With my credentials, if I could go back into the system of mental health, close my mouth, and agree to misdiagnose Black kids, I could be a millionaire in 6 months. I could be a millionaire in 6 months. If I change my game, I could be a millionaire in 6 months. With my popularity, my skill set, my credentials, I'll be a millionaire in 6 months. So that also sets me apart from other people in the conscious community, because I'm here because I want to be. Most of them are here because they have to be. They don't have any options. They don't have any options. This is it for them. I have plenty of options. I'm here because I was born to do the work that I'm doing. So although it gets tiring, you know, there is never a point where I feel that I must quit and walk away because I'm living my purpose. You know, some people come to consciousness from prison, which is fine. Some people come to consciousness because they grew disaffected with religion. That's fine. Some people come to consciousnness because they were disinvited by the white power structure. That's fine. But I don't come to consciousness as a reaction to a life experience. This is all I've known since the 4th grade, when I was 9 years old in North Philadelphia, taking my Black history class. We had mandatory Black history class from 4th and 5th grade. I fell in love with consciousness right then. 9 years old, 10 years old, I never left. So this is all I know. Before the degrees, after the degrees, it doesn't matter. This is who I am. It is organically 𝚂𝚂𝚁𝙸𝙺𝙴.
Wow. You know, I got a chance to interview Bishop Talbert a while back, and we were talking about his nigga moment. And what I mean by that is that the moment when he realized that white people hated Black people. When I was going to Michigan State, I'm riding down the street and some white guy randomly calls me a nigger. Had never been called a nigger before. At that moment, I really realized, coming from Detroit, it's not that diverse. There ain't too many white people. So at that moment, I really realized how deep this shit was, the hate of white people towards Black people. Did you have a moment like that?
Not really, because I've always been into the consciousness. So I was never called an N-word to my face. Definitely dealt with racism. Dealt with racism yesterday. I was in a Puerto Rican botanical in North Philadelphia, and the older gentleman there and the younger Latino woman there, I could tell they didn't want to wait on me. The way he took the money from me, the way that they answered my questions, and then I contrasted that with the way they waited on the Latino couple that came in right behind me. So I've dealt with racism, you know, white, left, brown, yellow, red, every kind, but I've never that boldly though.
Okay.
Where, you know, I was told to my face, you're an N-word or something like that. But, you know, in this work, within the context of what our ancestors have been through, that's a walk in the park. You know, they've been through far worse than anything we can go through. So, you know, I use that as my motivation to stay focused and to keep on going. And as a reminder that we as African people don't have friends, because one of our biggest problems as a people is we want to believe other people care about us. It's actually, it has taken on the form of a mental illness. So-called diversity, so-called inclusion, so-called multiculturalism, so-called integration. It is a mental illness for Black people. We go out of our way to make people feel comfortable around us so they will accept us. You know, as one elder said here in Philadelphia, who's a scholar, she said, we don't have a racial ego. Dr. Hazard is her name. She said, we don't have a racial ego. Everybody else, they rally around their culture. They rally around their racial identity, not Black people. All that was switched out for us and replaced with religious and fraternal loyalties.
Oh my God, that is absolutely true. And I got to make sure that I shout out 𝚂𝚗𝙱𝚁𝙸𝙱𝚴, man. The Fred Hampton Gun Club. Definitely appreciate you, bro. Just want to make sure because he's that's your guy. And that's my guy.
Shout out to Minister Talib. That's my brother. Shout out to the Fred Hampton Gun Club.
Yeah, that's definitely my guy. So I got 3 names for you, and I just want your thoughts. Roland Martin.
Coon.
Donald Trump.
Party flunky. Roland Martin is not a conscious guy. He's an opportunist. And we have a lot of those types. Roland Martin is only as good as the Democratic Party allows him to be. He is a soldier for the Black bourgeoisie. He is not a grassroots soldier. You saw that during that conversation that he and I had on this show. You've seen it in other situations where he needed to take a stand on certain things and he didn't do it because it wasn't viewed as something progressive in the eyes of the Democratic Party. He is a Democratic Party operative. That's what he is.
How many lashes does he get? Shout out to No Emotion.
I don't even know what I would give him, but he's not somebody I care for. I have no respect for the man. He's a coon and a flunky and a Black bourgeoisie.
Okay. Donald Trump.
Racist, white supremacist, but he's honest. You know, the honest racists, I have to respect them somewhat because at least you're honest. You're not trying to mislead my people. You're not trying to lie to my people. You're not trying to use the psychological technique of the white liberal or the Democrat. You're just going to come out with the truth. The same holds true for many of the Republican presidents. You know, they can be honest because their election doesn't depend on the black vote. That's why they're honest. The Democratic Party, their election can sometimes depend on the black vote. And as a result of that, they have to mislead Black people about what their true intentions are. And that's why President Biden is going out of his way to naturalize so many immigrants in this country as American citizens. That is being done to help reduce the Democratic Party's dependency on the black vote during election day. The Democratic Party is tired of being branded the party of Black America. They don't like it. It isolates them from other ethnic groups that hate Black people. It isolates them from middle of the road conservative Democrats, and it isolates them from liberal Republicans. So they're trying to reduce their dependency on the black vote as much as possible. And that's why President Biden has that 8 million citizen pathway to citizenship. It's somewhere between 4 and 8 million illegal immigrants and immigrants that he wants to turn into American citizens.
Okay. It really bothers me when people say black and.
That's that pathology again. That's that pathology of wanting not to stand out. It's that pathology of trying to make it look like you have friends, you have supporters. We have to understand something. Truth is a very, very bitter pill for people to swallow. Any kind of truth about your life. You know, somebody comes and tell you your wife is cheating on you, or somebody comes and tell you that your best friend stole from you. You know, somebody come and tell you that your boss is going to fire you, even though you helped them build the company. Truth is a very bitter pill to swallow. Some people take their lives when they find out about truth. Some people go crazy. When you see all these mass shootings and people killing their kids and murder suicides and killed his wife, then killed himself, or she killed her husband and killed the kids, a lot of that is centered around people finally acknowledging a very painful truth that they don't think they can survive. And Black America is exactly in that very predicament. You know, telling Black people you don't have no friends, telling Black people the government is through and over with doing anything for you, that the worst mistake you Negroes made was worship Barack Obama instead of making him deliver anything to you. By doing that for 8 years, celebrating a man who never celebrated you, gave white power 8 years to refuel, reorganize, reprioritize. And everything we're going through now is a direct reflection and result of Black America's failure to make Barack Obama produce any results for them, while in our very faces, he stripped us of all our civil rights and rolled them on over to the homosexuals, the Latinos, and the immigrants. That is our fault. It is not Barack Obama's fault. To his credit, he never said he would do anything for Black people, and he never did anything for Black people. We projected onto him this messianic complex that our great-grandchildren are still going to be suffering the aftershock of. That was a disgrace. I'm the only major scholar in this country who publicly disagreed with Black America's celebration and even election of Barack Obama. Why? Because when you look at the ascendancy of elected Black officials to public office, the Black constituency always ends up worse off. You can hardly find a Black elected official who left Black people in a better position after office than before office. You have a few. Harold Washington in Chicago would be an exception. Our good brother who was the mayor in Detroit for
Coleman Young.
Give me that again.
Coleman Young.
Coleman Young would be an exception.
Yeah.
You had a few of them. Maynard Jackson in Atlanta might be an exception. You had a few, but you can't count more than 5. You can't count more than 5 who left Black people in a better position after they left office than when they came in it. So why would Barack Obama be any less why would he be any less consistent than those who preceded him? You know, and my thing is this: even if you was going to give Obama a pass, you don't let the world know that. You don't tell people all he has to do is be Black. We literally were all over the news saying all he has to do is be Black. He don't have to deliver nothing to us. And as a result of that, every major index of Black progress in this country dropped under the Obama administration. Mass incarceration went up. Homelessness went up. Our share of America's wealth went down. Education gains went down. So when Black people tell me we benefited from Obama being in the White House, I have yet to get any hard evidence from anybody. It's all psychological, and it's all religious, and it's all emotional. And you don't make political decisions based off of emotion. Black people had better wake up and smell the coffee. If we do not do the 3 things that we are all allergic to as a people, and we're the only people who are allergic to those things, and that is organize, come together, mobilize, do something, and institutionalize. Build your own institutions and services that your people need. If you notice, our conversations never involve organization, mobilization, or institutionalization. There's always some empty rhetoric. It's always waiting on a white man to give us something like reparations. It always involves some other group or God. It always involves intervention from the outside. The next time you hear a Black conversation, listen to what they're talking about. It's always intervention from the outside. The government, corporate America, God, Jesus. What about us? A $2 trillion people has no excuse to be sitting around waiting for external intervention. The reason we have to do that, my brother, is we're not interested in sacrificing our own disposable income. We're not interested in sacrifice. The scariest word in Black America, if Black people could eliminate one word from the dictionary, it would be the word sacrifice. We are not interested in it.
Damn. That's a humbling thought, to be quite honest. And it makes me think of the boycott in Memphis back in the civil rights era, which was like absolutely, the bus boycott was probably, I wouldn't even say probably, for me, was the most important part. I'm sorry, Montgomery. But that was the most important part of the whole civil rights thing for me. Movement. I don't want to say thing. I don't want to disparage it. It showed them how much and we sacrificed for a long ass time together. Do you think is that even realistic anymore? Or no, we're just done?
Again, is that
realistic anymore for us to like, I know you say we want to get rid of it, but
it's realistic because this is the only way you're getting out of this. You understand me? It's not a question. In other words, what other option do you have? Show me any people in human history. You could even use the Bible and the Quran if you want, although I don't consider those historically accurate texts. But you can use any book you want, any race, any period of time. Show me any people who got out of their situation without organization and leadership. Because you even hear black people say things like, we don't need no leaders. Why you never hear Chinese people say we don't need no leaders? Why you never hear European Jews say we need no leaders? Why you never hear Arabs and East Indians and Chinese say we don't need no leaders? You know why black people love to say we don't need no leaders? Because black people don't believe in respecting or following sincere, authentic black leadership. We will follow white folks. White folks could lead us to hell if they want, and we'll listen. You understand? We'll follow Joe Biden. We'll follow Bill Clinton. We'll follow Jimmy Carter. You understand me? But we won't follow each other. You understand? We have an issue with anything black. Our self-hatred is at the heart and soul of why we cannot come together. Black people are in pursuit of a life of whiteness. The average Negro wants a world surrounded by white people where he is accepted by those white people. See, that black people's problem ain't freedom. It's not equality. It's not justice. It's acceptance by white people. That's what we want. If most black people could change their race, most of them will become white overnight. You can clearly tell by the amount of black men who suffer from the snow bunny crisis. You can clearly tell by the amount of black women who blonde their hair, dye their hair, bleach their hair. Look at all the blonde and brunette wigs and weaves running around in the black community. That is not a natural hair color of black women. Most of our ancestors come from West and Central Africa. That is not a natural hair color of West and Central Africans. On average, it's not. Okay, you have your albinos and you do have some other genetic derivations that will give rise to that, but it's not a regular hair color. We're doing it because we think that's beauty. Black women thinks that's beauty. So if you will go out of your way to emulate white people, if given the opportunity, why would you not transform yourself into one?
Is it just black women's view, or is it black men celebrating that view?
It's both. It's the self-hatred of black women, and it is the self-hatred of black men who prefer a woman who has a European phenotype. It is actually both. And I believe that black men are more at fault than the black woman, because I think that if we stood up as men, which we haven't done in about 56 years since Dr. King's murder, not politically or economically we haven't, black men have done nothing collectively for the black race since Dr. King's murder.
Okay, do me a favor. I'm not the brightest apple in the bunch. Break down Pan-Africanism for me.
Sure. Now, before I do, just to conclude that point, I believe that black men, if we came together as a movement and said, listen, black sister, we want everybody natural. We want everybody natural. That's a $30 billion decision we just made. Do you understand that?
Yes.
If black men told sisters, we're not dating you unless you're natural, that's a $30 billion decision we just made. Now, black women got $30 billion that they can use to build institutions, build programs for our girls, build mental health treatment centers to help all the black girls who have been sexually abused and sexually trafficked and so forth and so on. Our political and cultural decisions are also economic. We have to understand that. This is why every other group benefits. Mexicans benefit from decisions to align themselves with their culture, because what it says is anytime we align with our culture, we automatically keep that money in the community, because we're the only people who can produce our cultural artifacts. We're the only people who can genuinely practice our cultural ritual. You understand? So our cultural decisions, our psychological decisions automatically have economic ramifications. So we have to keep that in mind. Now, Pan-Africanism, if I was to sum that up, I would give it three simple principles. Principle number one, all African people are a single family. We are family, no matter where we are, what our complexion is, what our hair texture is, what our religion is, what flag we pledge allegiance to, what God we worship, what language we speak, whether you're in South Africa speaking Xhosa, or whether you're in Brazil speaking Portuguese, whether you're in Haiti with French, whether in the United Kingdom with the Queen's English, or in America speaking Ebonics, we are one race, and we should identify and operate as a single racial family. If African people practice oneness, because that's all Pan-Africanism is, it is a synonym for oneness. If African people globally practice oneness, we would be unstoppable. We would have people eating out of our hands. which is to say what? Our situation is not exclusively due to our race. Race is a symptom. Our situation is due to the lack of organization. Once we get strong, the world will be compelled to respect us. We don't agree? Look at China. China was once weak, dejected, irrespected, disrespected. When Mao Zedong went to Russia, Stalin wouldn't even shake his hand. Stalin wouldn't even shake his hand. Look at China now. Look at China now. They can laugh at the Russians. Let's go to England. The Germans once considered the English a poor slave. They said the English were not even good enough to be a slave. They damn near ran 75% of the world during the heyday of the British Empire, fueled by slavery and colonization. Look at India. East India was a backwards, ignored nation. Now they're the tech giant of the modern world. So I know what we can do, but what brought China out of that, what brought England out of that, what brought India out of her backness was a racial pride that said we were great before and we will be great again. Black people have yet to get to that. We are so selfish, individualistic, and what keeps us in this downward spiral, my brother, is we continue to make deals with the devil that disproportionately disadvantage African people. Point number 2, as Africa goes, so goes the African diaspora. As Africa goes, so goes the African diaspora. This is one of the big differences we would have with, you know, these African-American tribal groups who want Black people to either disconnect, okay, or disaffect from their African roots. It's ridiculous because you'll never be greater than your international homeland. You have never seen a people get respect anywhere on earth that exceeded the respect of their national home. No Indian in the world got respect till East India got it. No Chinese in the world got respect till China got it. No European Jew in the world got respect till Israel got it. It's going to be the same way with Black people. Thinking we're going to achieve freedom, justice, and equality without the same happening in Africa is ridiculous. Why? Because your international homeland is your political power base for your race. The international homeland is the political power base for the race. So if that power base ain't strong, no matter where you are in the world, you're strong. It's not a coincidence that police in America only consistently execute Blacks. There's Chinese gangs. There's Mexican gangs in America. Everybody has gangs in this country. Everybody commits crime in this country. Everybody breaks the law, runs the stop sign, has an outstanding warrant. Why is it that Black people are the only ones consistently murdered by police? Because you have no international power base. You have no country that's willing to stand up and stand out for you. And until we build that, we'll never get it. And you know what the great crisis and crucible of this, my brother? The great crisis and crucible of this situation lies in the fact that we have the money to make Africa great again. The diaspora, Black America in particular, we have the money to make Africa great again. Imagine, my brother, if we organized ourselves. So when Ghana needs 50 million, we got you. When Senegal needs 30 million, we got you. When Kenya needs 5 million, we got you. When Jamaica needs 2 million, we got you. When the Bahamas need a couple million, we got you. If we were organized, brother, you know how much respect we would get from the African race around the world to be able to say Black America is the reason you got new schools. Black America is the reason you got new roads, new hotels, new hospitals. Black America is the reason you got jobs. So we're sitting around crying about being disrespected by African immigrants and Africans around the world. We're crying about being mistreated by whites, reds, browns, and yellows, while at the same time, we have the economic potential to change all that in 1 year. We could change it in a year, my brother. But the reason we can't do it, Black people are not interested in what? Any sacrifice whatsoever. And the last principle I'll give you on Pan-Africanism, and there's many, but the last one I'll give you is self-determination. Anything that is to be done for Africans must be done by Africans. That is a very powerful principle because it separates us from everybody else. We don't take money from no other race at all. No other race can join our movements. Okay? Black family must be built by Black men and Black women. If you got a Black church, it better be a Black Jesus. Everything better look like you. Everything better be about you. Everything better be controlled by you. As the most honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey said, greatest Black organizer in human history, no other person in human history has ever brought together 13 million people, especially without a nation state that he controlled, without helicopter, airplane, internet, or cell phone. He did that. Garvey said we need Black manufacturers, Black distributors, Black
Yes.
producers.